Becoming is better than being. And that's precisely why we consider ourselves to always be a work in progress. It means that you are never complete and you always have the opportunity to become something and someone better.
Yes, it allows you the ability to be comfortable with making mistakes and accepting yourself for who you are.
We are Work in Progress. Hi, I'm Anna.
Hi, I'm AX.
And I am your host, GK.
You really had
Welcome
to.
to
You really
the show.
had to.
So, Anna, welcome back.
Thank
First
you.
time in 2022.
Whoop,
Hopefully
whoop.
the year has started good for you.
Brilliant.
Brilliant, fantastic. So, because it's your first time this year, you decided that you're the one who's going to bring us our first topic, and it's a little weird. So,
It's
Anna,
not weird. You're just weird.
What's new with you? Tell me the story.
Well, it's not really something new per se,
Okay.
but being a cat lover that I am, and I have a fellow cat lover by my side, we
love
thought
kitty
we'd
cats.
bring some peculiarities to do with cats.
Okay.
So you may have heard of this. Pope Gregory the Ninth, which is way back.
That's 13th century, basically.
Yeah, basically 13th century, issued a papal decree declaring a ban on cats.
A papal decree is like
Like a law.
It's
A
yeah,
law.
it's
like
like
a law from the Pope, yeah.
And the reason he did this is that he sort of believed that that Satan was half cat, and that a lot of the time Satan would come in the form of black cats in particular.
Wait.
that
so
makes so much
no,
sense.
it doesn't.
In my past, there were certain animals I've always been trained to run away from. Number one is a black cat, especially if it goes on like on a ladder. Apparently, that's
You watch too
that's
many
the end of your
cartoons,
life.
man.
Another one is like snakes, because the devil
course.
in
I
my
mean, yeah,
kid books was always
yeah.
taught to be a snake.
Snake.
Yeah. Anyways, continue.
Yeah.
After that side. Yeah, so basically how he got this made into the decree was he had an assistant who went and basically tortured people into confessing that they worship cats as a form
What?
of Satan.
Oh my.
And that's how they kind of got it passed on. And yeah, since then cats were banned and kind of had some after effects. People say that the plague, the reason it spread so quickly is because there was a lack of cats, so cats couldn't catch
The rats.
the rats.
Okay.
But what I found interesting is since then, there's a lot of, I guess, stigma attached to cats since then. So Europe itself has, I think, the smallest population of black cats, and that's because of the spillover
Yeah.
since then. And interestingly, in Belgium, there's a festival called Kattenstoet,
Oh,
if I've said that correctly.
Kattenstoet.
Kattenstoet.
I don't like where this is going.
That takes place on the second Sunday of May since 1955, I think.
Okay.
And it basically involves
No.
going up to a tower
Oh, no.
and throwing cats down.
What?
Yeah, and it happens every year. Now with time, they don't use real cats; they use toy cats. But it's still a thing that happens
The only question
every
I have,
year.
the only question I have is, did the cats land on their feet?
Yeah, because cats always land on their feet.
I could not get information on that, so I don't know.
Because I feel like if cats always land on their feet and they land on their feet after being thrown from a tower, then I feel like another part of the festival must be like archers trying to shoot the cats down before they
no.
get down.
Okay.
Because the whole point of the throwing cats out of the tower is to kill them, no?
I assume so.
It's not for fun.
But so basically that got me thinking. This stigma has lasted for so long.
Yeah.
What are the other ways that we see maybe close to Africa that cats are, if anything, being treated
So,
differently?
I actually have two things I want to say about this. The first one is, did you know that cats aren't mentioned as companions in the Bible? Like in the Protestant Bible, like they're not
They're
not there.
They're not mentioned at all, really.
They're not mentioned at all in the Bible. I think, having grown up in a background of faith, it took a really long time for my mom to accept the idea that a cat can be a companion. I think it's because even for her, it's not an idea she was exposed to. Maybe, religious belief has something to do with it. And as for Africa, it's not so much that we're afraid of cats as like with Pope Gregory, right? It's that these
They
cats
represent.
they're inhibitors of like certain spirits. Within them, there's a spirit of like, I don't know, certain mischievous dwarves, the devil, all these other things. And
Witchcraft.
yeah, which is
I wonder if the cat, maybe if it's the intelligence or the independence of the cat that made people realize that they may be carrying spirits, or they may be where the devil
because cats don't
resides.
listen. Cats do
Because
not
cats are
listen.
very independent on their own. Me as an individual, I have never been interested in cats. I prefer dogs. Dogs are man's best
Dogs
friend.
are so needy.
Why does it always have to be either cat or dog?
Dog, yeah, like why not
cat,
both?
dog. But
Literally, there's a cartoon of
I think dogs. But one thing I found interesting about dogs, because I wasn't interested in cats, is, do you know, in Rwanda,
Okay.
dogs for a long time were not really a thing.
Really?
After the genocide,
Oh no.
he's going to get a little dog, just a little
Oh,
bit.
my God.
The stray dogs had to be put down, all of them, because of their exposure to humans.
Human flesh.
Yeah, so even dogs can cause problems with society. But anyways, that was just an interesting way to introduce work in progress. Now we're going to switch gears quite dramatically and talk about something else that's been happening quite a lot in this continent in the last few years, and that is coups. For many of us who are historians in Africa, we knew that coups were a part of Africa's history, especially when we were gaining independence, the 60s, the 70s, especially the 60s and some in the 80s. It's when a lot of military coups took place. But since then, we've had small lulls where coups haven't been as prevalent as they have. But in the last 2 years alone, there have been an increased amount of coups in this continent, which has caused a bit of people to worry. Are coups back? Is it a good thing that they're back? Is it a fight for democracy, or is it the end of democracy? So I think we should all here at Work in Progress, and everybody around, talk about why there's a resurgence in coups.
Not just why there's a resurgence in coups, but why it's always a particular part of Africa, right? Forgive me wrong, but it's always like West Africa. Right? There's like a line of countries in which, like, when one has a coup, then it just moves on from the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one. So we should also try to answer that question. Ask yourself that question too, yeah.
You know, 2022 started with a coup.
Yep.
That rhymed. It started with Burkina Faso, where young soldiers who are fed up with the way the terrorists they've been having a huge terror problem, how the president has been dealing with the terror problem and how they've been treated. They decided that they're going to stand up against the president, and they managed to take him out and take away some of the key military officials as well, and take over the presidency. So they have a very young military leader.
So this was one of those coups where it came from like the lowest rungs of the military,
for more of the lower ranks,
as opposed to up down.
Lower middle ranks, as opposed to up down. Then you have Guinea-Bissau. I hope I've said it right. I've said it like that for the last 10 years, so I hope I'm right.
Bissau?
Yeah, I don't think it's Bissau. I think it's Bissau, but that may be my own bias. Maybe my own bias. So Guinea-Bissau had a bit of a gunfight in the presidential palace, where the president was being attacked by gangs. This was not military at all, but gangs were literally trying to, or they're not sure, they're saying paramilitary groups, were literally trying to take over the presidency. So what do you guys think about this whole prevalence? I'll start with you, Anna. What do you think about this whole return of coups?
Well, okay, I think on this conversation of militant insurgencies, I think that's definitely a key factor in coups, especially when you look at West Africa and the Islamist groups. They tend to have a large presence where they are undermining the government's authority. So you already have public disenfranchisement? What's the word? Yeah, public upset over the government's ability to handle security. And we saw that in Mali in 2012, where the Tuareg-led rebellion was so much of a problem that the military and the public lost their confidence in the government. And then what you see later, and why I think it spreads, is these countries tend to be very fragile. And in fact, a lot of the countries that have had coups in the recent years are like number one on the top list of like the most fragile states in the world. And I think it's because you have the breakdown of political systems, so spilling over insurgencies group, and when you have a coup, everything breaks down. So it's easier to spill over to a neighboring country. And
you know, AX, you spoke about, just for a second, the connection of the West. What about that was specific for you?
For me, I just found it really interesting that historically speaking, whenever you think about coups in Africa, they typically tend to be West African or Central Africa. For some reason, Eastern Africa has been spared a majority of the African coups, same with Southern Africa. And I'm not sure if it's because we're special, of course we're special, or if it's because there's just something that we have that they don't. Is it that we were able to achieve some sense of political stability aside from the military stepping in to achieve it? post-independence, because if you look at the history of those nations, you have the military taking on a very strong political role as a way to reinforce the new democracy or the new republics. And I don't think we had that in East Africa.
So let me ask you, with West Africa, one of the things that's common is that a lot of West Africa was colonized.
Oh, I have notes.
By the French.
I have notes.
And if you look towards
really
East and Southern Africa, which are largely English dominated, you have much less prevalence of coups. So is there something with the French?
That actually raised a really interesting point of mine. So if you look at British colonial policy versus French colonial policy, they're very different, right? For Britain, it wasn't so much that you were assimilated into the British mainland as much as it was we are colonizing you, we're here to civilize you, right?
Here to extract.
Yes.
And go.
Whereas for the French, it was welcome, you're part of the family. We're gonna
a French person.
Yeah, we're gonna remove everything about you and then reinsert all the French stuff. And I'm now thinking perhaps that loss of like cultural identity maybe might explain why we have so many coups in Western Africa, because they had nothing to hold back on. All they had were French ways. All they had were French, I guess, thoughts, ideologies, maybe.
You know, DK was reminding me, DK from Fifth Estate, it was reminding me about this video of this lady who speaks about how the French need Africa more than Africa needs the French. That the French without Africa would revert back to being a third world country. Do you think that's true?
Whether it would revert back to being...
Or they need them really significantly?
I mean, I don't think to the point that they'd revert back, but I think a lot of France's economy is built on Africa. And actually, keeping in line with coups, one of the things that has been argued with Mali in particular, so Mali has had a strong military French presence. And what happened, I think it was the 2012 coup, the negotiations between the militant group and the government of Mali, it's argued that France had a key role in that negotiation, and what came out of it was that France got access to a region that is rich in gold, and so maybe, you know, having that coup, so you're able to gain access to resources. And we know France is a bit notorious for that.
Yeah, and that's actually like a European colonial playbook, right? If you look at the very early history of the Congo, despite the fact that a lot of people kind of in 1960s were more or less on the same page, the Belgians, who were really mad about losing the resource-rich Congo, came in and worked with the CIA to kill not only kill Lumumba, but also institute a separatist coup from the south, because they wanted the resources. It's history.
It's history. But okay, here's another thing that I found out with these coups that I found really interesting. If you look at the countries that have been involved in the coups, and I don't know if any of you guys noticed, there seems to be, number one, there seemed to be a lot of hope created from the coups. People were quite happy and excited about the coups taking place. They've largely not been bloody like they were in the past. But what is interesting with me is these countries that seemed to get renewed hope almost immediately got counter coups. Case in point, Sudan. I think it was 2019 or 2020. I think it was 2019.
Okay.
Sudan got ousted Omar al-Bashir, who had been with them for like 26 years. Then, 2 years later, 2021, they have another coup in which the prime minister is sort of taken in, they sort of renegotiate and they come back out because the military council has set some new parameters. Burkina Faso in the last 10 years has had 3 coups. You look at Mali, another country, has had 3 coups in the last 10 years. So do you think there's a false sense of hope that comes with militaries taking over a certain region?
I think it's that idea of you're so unhappy with your government, a coup happens, you're so happy to get rid of this person. So there's that celebration, other countries are like, hey, yeah, that's the way to go. But in the long run, because after a coup, there's a breakdown of all your systems. Right? Your economy's down, especially when you have international sanctions. So already you're happy at first, but then when whoever's in power is trying to now rebuild without the same support they had, then you see a coup happening again because they're like, we got rid of this person for you to come and do either the same or to break the promises that you said you'd give us in the coup, which tends to happen a lot.
So there's a bit of a false belief that change will come immediatly from these things.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the words of Tom Boyer and like Challenges of Nationhood. And there's an address he's making about the nature of development. And one of the things he says that really resonates with me is that development takes time. But when you have been under a government who you deem to not really be working in the best interest of yourself for not only like your lifetime, but your parents' lifetime and your grandparents' lifetime, you start to even question if development is possible at all. So that initial optimism of scrapping it clean, starting again, allows you to re-establish your hope in that development takes time, only for you to realize, well, is development even possible? It's like this never-ending cycle of just...
So with that in mind, AX, I have a question directly for you. One that I had really been thinking about, and I targeted to AX. We'll see what Anna has to respond to it as well.
Fine.
Is there something about most African states in which democracy just doesn't work, where there is a demand for African strongman leadership, and that provides stability in terms of political, maybe not economic stability, but political stability? AX?
Okay. To be honest, I don't know. I'm very well aware that because we have a history of colonialism in which it was much easier for the governments in Europe to just deal with one person, and as a result we kind of maybe maintained that tradition in the way in which we established our republics, that it might be easier for states to just have one strong guy in charge. Because I really don't like this notion that democracy, or rather democracy as it's practiced in the West, is resistant to Africa, because it makes us, I don't know, it doesn't make me feel good, right?
What do you think, Anna?
I'll say this, democracy, okay, we think of democracy as this set of rules and, it's elections, it's this, it's that, but democracy is elastic. So it can be, you can, I think, manipulate it to suit your situation. So I think in the case of Africa, it's just that idea of you must follow the West because look at how they achieved it, and that modernization kind of path. But really, we need to suit it to our environment, our political situations, and the kinds of leaders we have, taking in consideration international influence. So I think, we need to remodel it.
Okay, there we have it. I think there's been a lot of food for thought there. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back to Work in Progress. So, before we head into the segment that we all know as the Ignorance Project, Anna and AX bickered at me, telling me that I cut the cat conversation a bit too short, and there was a fact they had that was going to blow everyone's heads off. So, Anna, the floor is yours.
You've like overhyped that.
Yeah, you really have. It's really not that.
It's not going to blow your mind off. It's kind of known, but I think at least one of the places we can say in Africa for sure, we know that cats are not seen as devils or witchcraft or anything of the sort, is Egypt, where actually they're seen as deities. And the reason for this is, cats are actually seen as companions. They get very mummified with people.
Oh dear. Okay.
So yeah, they're actually seen as, and some people, they believe that some people when in the afterlife would actually return as a cat or things like that. So
that's cute. That's very cute. Also, and on the subject of mummification, like so many cats were mummified back in the 5000 BC area, that time.
Egypt's time.
That in the 19th century, when the UK was doing its plundering things in Egypt, they exported these mummies, mummified cats, and ground them up for fertilizer.
What?
Yeah, I mean, in fact, like ground up mummies were used as like face creams, body lotions, medicine. They were used for everything.
That is indeed.
From the ingredients list?
I don't think so. They barely put hope. Like
ground up mummies.
Ground up humans.
Okay, so now that we've heard that fact, we can move on to the Ignorance Project, which is, of course, inspired by Hans Rosling in his book Factfulness, and reminds us things are not always that bad. But normally, Ignorance Project is only led by one person, and even in his absence, he has demanded that he is the one who creates the questions. So, Chris M has sent me a message with the questions. I will ask them. I don't know the answers either, and we will look at the answers from the producer on the other side. Okay?
All right.
Let's go. Question 1. Which country has the most Portuguese speakers in the world?
Brazil.
And it's not Portugal? Yeah, it's Brazil.
It can't be Portugal.
It's Brazil.
Correct. Brazil. It's 200 million people.
Nice.
Okay. Number 2.
Over 200
Over
million.
200 million people. Number 2. Which county in the world
Wait,
does
country
not,
or county?
Country. Okay. Which country in the world does not have a capital city?
South Africa, because it has 3.
The Vatican. Vatican.
South Africa has 3. What?
Yeah, South Africa has 3.
Nauru. So you're both extremely
Actually,
wrong.
we're both, or did you and I?
I didn't
Please.
answer.
She did not
I
answer.
heard her say Vatican City. Okay.
You said Vatican City. We
Number
will
3.
play it back for the audience.
Number 3. Peacocks are confused to be a type of bird.
Bird?
Peacock is the male species, while peahen is the female species. Together they are known as what? What?
Say it again.
I'll read that again. Peacocks are confused to be a type of bird. The peacock is the male species, while the peahen is the female species. Together they are known as what?
Pea chickens?
I would say
I
that's
get your
the
thought.
first.
Well, you know what? Critical thinking, we're very good here at the Fortal School of Government. It's critical
so
thinking.
it's not
So
pea
we're saying
birds.
pea chickens.
No, that's dumb.
Peafowl. We were actually really close.
Do we get the
Some
point?
say fowl is just another way to say
Say
chicken.
chicken,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what I'm saying.
I
We're
say
really
we get the point.
Potato.
Yeah, we give ourselves those points. Next one. How many bones are in the human body?
206.
200.
Yes!
Well,
Hannah Montana for the win. Doing the bone dance.
okay, you're a very weird person. Number 5. At what temperature are Celsius and Fahrenheit equal?
No.
At what
At
temperature?
what temperature are Fahrenheit and Celsius equal?
Like 1 Celsius is equal to 1.
Where they're equal.
What?
Infinity.
No.
0?
Minus 40.
Minus 40.
So minus 40 Celsius is minus 40 Fahrenheit. But how is it that 0 Fahrenheit is like minus 32 Celsius?
Just shows
This
how.
I will say this.
Uh-huh.
Like in Canada, they'd say like when temperatures would get past a certain degree, let's say, okay, I thought it was like 30, but maybe 40 minus 40, they're like it just does feel the same.
Sorry,
so yeah, it makes
it gets to
sense.
minus 40.
But no, that's
Makes
wrong.
cool places, yeah.
We are saying that is wrong, but it's okay. We'll move
Making
on.
sense, you know.
The study of mushrooms is known as what?
I know mushrooms are a type of fungi.
Fungus. So, scientofungi,
No,
Fungiology?
fungiology,
It's probably something so different.
mycology.
That sounds so normal. Okay. Next one. Largest freshwater lake in the world is which one?
Largest
I know it is
freshwater lake.
not Lake Victoria.
Oh my god, thank you so much for helping.
Man-made versus non-man-made?
Is Lake Turkana a
We've got-
freshwater lake or
In the
something?
world.
Lake Victoria is the biggest in Africa, in one of the biggest in Africa.
So it's not on
It's
Africa.
not, it's
in
not
Africa.
in East Africa, but I think it's somewhere in like South America.
Is Niagara a lake?
Niagara Falls. I have no idea. The answer is the Caspian Lake.
Like the Caspian Sea?
The Caspian Sea.
But you said
You
lake.
said lake.
You said lake.
Anyways,
You said lake.
we're leaving that one there to be read further. Finally, number 8. The largest forest in the world is the boreal forest. What percentage of the earth does it cover?
I
Okay,
want to
in
say
Kenya, the forest coverage is 7%.
Are we at 7 or we're trying to get
We're
to
trying to
7?
get to 10. We're at
Okay.
7, we're trying to get to 10. So with that logic and bringing in some mathematics, I think we can say 3.4%.
Wait, is the...
What?
No, it have to be... Oh, no, I don't
No, because of the world. Because of the
The
world.
whole
Yeah.
world.
Okay,
The
yeah.
whole
You know
world.
what?
I feel I should know this, but I don't.
It's so
Let me
brilliant.
take it.
It's
Let
so
me
brilliant.
say... Let me go higher than you so we can get... Let me go 10%.
Okay, then I will go right bang in the middle and say like 7. Oh!
14% of the earth is by one tree forest. You know what? Chris
And
M,
it's not the
planting?
Amazon.
Chris M will give you the thumbs up for that one. That was actually very interesting.
Very
so
fun.
there's where we're going to stop Work in Progress today. Thank you so much for watching, and we will be here with you, like we always are, next time.
Bye.